I personally learn through doing. Like that's the way I get through things and learn. So if a teacher if a teacher can give a lecture and walk us, like basically have us going through a problem with them, walking us step by step how to do something, and having us having them showing us how to do it while we're also simultaneously like doing the problem and solving the problem and doing some math and things like that, then that seems to be the best way that I learn.
I don't think there is a most effective way of teaching. I think it is what works best for the student, for the teacher who's teaching, and for the students. Like, one group of students might be different than another. And I think part of the role of a teacher is to kind of feel that out.
Well, actually, it all depends on the subject.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, if you're studying literature and writing, then you ought to write. You know, just reading about it is not enough. You ought to write and create, okay? If you're studying physics or sciences or whatever, the more you get involved with the hands-on, the better. I've often said they ought to mix shop, which is sometimes, the vocational studies with the academic. To learn how a motor works, you can look at it and it's one thing, but if you take apart a motor and put it back together again and have all the pieces, I can guarantee you'll understand it and remember it a hell of a lot better than if you just saw the pictures in the book and blah blah blah. Or of course now they have videos which show things like that, but it's still not as good as grabbing it in your own hands.
I think just showing that they care about you and what they're teaching, because once they show that they care, you want to care too. You bring a lot of material to people, you present it to them so that they stimulates their creativity and their critical thinking skills so that they can problem solve.
Yeah.
So for me, it's I like you to show me stuff it's very tactile with physical things like that, I guess like helping those students that like really need help but you don't exactly know how to help them, or like if they have problems, how to diagnose the problems and how to like get them where they need to be when they're not. The bureaucracy that has been created in the school systems these days, I think it's easier for a teacher that's in a small school system or at a private school probably, because if they go to a private school, they probably went to interview there because they believed in their philosophies. But I think that really, I don't know how much they allow teachers to have that classroom as their independent learning place anymore. And I think that Poudre school system's pretty good, but I think that in a lot of ways we've taken that away from the teachers with standardized test scores and these different parameters that we're trying to gauge how well students are learning. And I understand that that's important, but I think that must be very difficult.
It's having the patience and being able to manage your time and manage your students' time to make sure that you get what you learn. They learn what they need to be learning, and recognize where some students may fall behind, and that seems to be the hardest part, is catching them.
What the hell was the question again?
Balancing work and trying to make the material interesting.
The problem is teachers are not only have to teach, but they got to be, I say, priest and mother and father and babysitter and God knows what. And I'm talking about kids that are adolescents and on up to high school.
Yeah.
To try to get them to appreciate that they need to work in order to get ahead. And that's asking a lot of a teacher. I mean, I've run, as I told you, shipyards, millions of dollars worth of stuff, and managing that is so simple compared to being a teacher. It's pathetic. And these guys all say, we run it like a business. It won't work. And I just wish that every one of them could go teach for 2 weeks and they'd shut their mouths and come out of that thing saying you all need to pay a raise.